Welcome back to Rabbit Troop Sucks, and today we are going to be reviewing a movie from 2002, Ghost Ship, or as I'm probably going to reference it as Ghost Boat, all throughout this film. And we are a podcast of obscure, overlooked, and sometimes forgotten films. And today we have, I think, Mike, or am I wrong? We have more guests than ever. Is the max guests?
This is everybody that I know is in this room right now.
Fantastic. As always, I am Paul. Next to me is Mike. Next to me is also La-Mar.
Hello.
Next to Mike is also Rami joining us again.
Yeah.
Okay. And first time appearance, Lucor.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you.
I mean, I can't imagine a better movie to welcome Lucor to outside of Ghost Boat.
Yeah.
Ghost Boat.
Ghost Boat. Also, I don't think Lucor knew he was recording a podcast. You invited him over and then locked the door behind him.
I think Rami was supposed to relay a message. I don't know if that message was actually relayed.
It's in there.
This is a sabotage appearance.
I heard there was going to be bourbon.
There was, and is. Mm-hmm. And there was a movie. You were told there was a movie.
Yes.
I said there would be a movie and possibly a podcast.
Did you think we were just like going to sit around and listen to a podcast?
Maybe I could have made it work.
That's fair.
That's a fun activity, too.
Well, welcome aboard, Lucor. Today we're going to be reviewing, again, Ghost Ship from 2002. A salvage crew discovers a long-lost 1962 passenger ship floating lifeless in a remote region of the Bering Sea, and soon notices that its long-dead inhabitants may still be aboard. I'm just laughing because it is very soon, and they do realize those things. Plot ruined. Ghost Boat.
That Ghost Boat.
I have to say I was surprised how long they resisted realizing, though.
I mean, Lucor, I agree with you. I mean, pretty much from the start. I mean, one of the main characters is seeing a ghost every 5 minutes. And as Rami will later tell you, we are all of a sudden are in flashback mode because of it. So we're seeing like double takes of ghosts, and eventually someone's like, yeah, maybe it's Ghost. But everyone knows it's ghosts. Yeah. They all know.
This isn't the smartest crew. It's one of those, I don't want to say a disaster movie, but a typical 2000s-ish movie with a crew of just idiots.
What if it was Two Live Crew, and what if they found a boat?
That'd probably be a better movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, the crew looked a lot like just a bunch of extras on break.
Yeah. Yeah. We do have some notable people in this film. Gabriel Byrne is clearly going to be the most famous. I'm sure everyone in this room has seen that guy in at least something in the last, like, honestly, 40 years? Karl Urban. Have you ever seen Karl Urban before, Lucor? Karl Urban was the new Judge Dredd, and he was also the new Bones in Star Trek. I know another thing I'll say to Rami, but like, have you seen any of those things? In Star Trek, he's great. He's like super crotchety. He's really angry.
He does a good job in the new Star Treks.
I've got to make a confession. I don't recognize people.
We know, Lucor. We know. Now that we have it on record, we legally know. We have this bound in the records of the Rabbit Troop Sucks recorded annals. Rami, we saw clearly Karl Urban in The Boys, and I would say most anyone listening to this, The Boys, because as we pointed this out to Rami, what was your take on who that guy was?
I honestly did not recognize him. He's so much younger in this, and with that ponytail or whatever.
I wasn't loving that ponytail.
Yeah, I said he looked like one of the riders of Rohan or our friend Dan's brother. So shout out to our friend Dan's brother. Yes. We also have some other people. Was it Emily Browning is in Sucker Punch and a series of unfortunate events, and most recently I saw her in American Gods. So there is like there are notable people. Julianna, I don't remember her last name.
Margulies?
Yeah, plays Epps. She's basically the main character. Most notably from ER. I don't know if I've seen her in anything. I never even really watched ER. I just how about this? I know her from ER commercials. Has anyone seen her in anything? Did anyone watch ER in this movie or in this room?
No.
This movie people might.
I know.
I was about to say something that you guys might have clowned on before, so I'm going to look it up before I make an ass out of myself.
She seemed hauntingly familiar, but I can't say from where.
Honestly, Lucor, I feel like ER, there's probably like 400 episodes, and you and I probably like watched commercials for it just because like they trapped us. Lucor and I also used to watch massive amounts of Jerry Springer together. We would work together, watch Jerry Springer, and then go to school, etc., or even more work. So we were bombarded with commercials when we were much, much younger. And I would not be surprised if we saw like 1,000 ER commercials and we're like, we're never watching this, but I know who you are because of it.
She was in Snakes on a Plane.
Who was she that stinks on the plane?
I have no fucking idea.
That's how long ago I've seen that movie. I can't remember it.
Okay, so Mike, did that just like come to you? Like, I think this woman was on Snakes on a Plane?
No.
Or, okay.
I thought
okay.
she was a different person, and I didn't want to say anything because I was wrong. But then when I looked her up, was the only other thing.
You're like, yes, this person on Snakes on
She
a
played one of the snakes, I think.
I knew it. Yeah. Well, this movie opens up in a crazy, tragic way. So you don't really understand what's going on, but there's some kind of celebration. I don't know. But it's 1962, and we're on some kind of boat. And it is clearly upper class all the way. I mean, it's like champagne. It's very hoity-toity appetizers. The captain's out. Everyone's dancing. And we do see, spoiler, that this is only part of the story, but all of a sudden everyone's dancing, and this young girl and the captain start dancing, and all of a sudden this wire breaks free, and it's crazy. It's like rip, 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 and you hear like the buoyancy, the boing, yoing, yoing, yoing of this like this steel cable, and it rips in half like part of the boat, and then shoots forward with another rip, and everyone's still dancing, and everyone takes a pause. Because now everyone has been cut in half just immediately into the film,
But, like,
except for the young girl.
Right, but before this happens, you see like a mysterious hand manipulate a lever, and it's an Italian boat, so it goes from something to Massimino or whatever.
Was it an Italian
I'm trying
hand?
to figure that out. It was Italian.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell if it was Italian or Spanish. There's
I think it was Italian.
I think it was Italian
Yeah.
too. Wasn't the singer all of her?
Yeah, she was speaking
yeah,
Italian.
Yeah,
I thought so. I
Yeah.
thought so too, but
So like right off the bat, you know that someone kind of set these things in motion, maybe on purpose, but you don't find out until later. But yeah, everyone gets cut in half. The captain, who's dancing with the little girl, gets his head cut in half.
That was
Yeah.
a gruesome scene.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, we I don't think we're gonna dance around is this movie good or not throughout the entirety of this. But this opening sequence, I'm kind of down with because I'm like, holy shit, this is awful.
Right.
Like everything that just happened is awful.
That was one of the IMDb pieces of trivia. There was some publication that I guess deals with this that named this as one of the best horror openings.
I would give it this. This is the biggest sell of this movie.
Yeah.
The setup was good too because I was getting like Titanic vibes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Just like a big ball up deck, and just everything went from really peaceful to really horrible quickly.
Yeah, it's like they're having a great Gatsby party, and then everyone's cut in half.
I will say that the enormous blue mermaid boobs were one of the. They were distinctive from the opening scene all the way throughout this movie.
They make several appearances. Yeah,
They are. They should have had a feature in the credits.
Are you talking about the singer?
No, there was a big like fresco behind the singer that was just a topless mermaid.
You had me at mermaid boots, and I totally missed that.
Yeah, I missed that
Sorry.
too.
Enormous blue boobs that were behind the scene.
I didn't, Lamar.
Wow.
I didn't get it.
Oh, you missed out, Paul. Damn, I don't know what happened.
Well, this is one of the reasons we do this podcast, so you go back and rewatch all these films for very specific reasons.
And I found it pretty remarkable that as everyone was cut in half, and like they didn't fall apart until they realized they were cut in half.
Right.
But that even extended to someone's forearm being cut. Like it didn't finish falling off of them until they,
Right.
came to grips with the fact that this had happened, and then the hand just kind of like plops down.
In a way, it was like body poetry, Lucor. Like it was saying goodbye. It was like, I don't want to leave you, but I gotta go, bro. I gotta slide off your body. And yes, we later learned this little girl's name is Katie. And Katie seems to be the only, underline that 1,000 times, to be the only survivor of this. And Lucor or Rami, you noted while we're watching this, was like, whoa, like, was that everyone on the deck? Like, because everyone in theory is dead. Like that's what we are gathering.
Yeah.
So like, who was engineering the boat? Who was under decks? Who was doing anything? So apparently, just everyone was on the deck. As you would.
Or so we are led to.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we know so far.
If you've seen Titanic, we knew you know one thing, that class systems don't exist and everyone is there just for a good time. So that was the moral I got from that. So
Yep.
where are we at now?
We got a hard cut to the
we're in the
Arctic Warrior.
Present day.
Present day.
Present day pirates.
Hard cut to the pirates.
Yeah. It's. I don't know what his Gabriel Byrne, whatever his name is. He's like the captain.
Greer, I think.
No, it's not Greer.
I just kept calling him the
Murray.
captain.
Murray, yeah.
Murray.
that's
Okay,
right.
that's a stupid name.
Greer is another guy in the boat.
Murray, yeah.
Okay. He's the captain of the Arctic pirate
Yeah, Arctic
Yeah.
Warrior.
Is like they're just a team of rough cut salvage operators
In a tugboat.
in a tugboat, yeah. And they're tugging along something that they're trying to fix. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just a scene that just sets up who they are and
Right.
whatnot. It just gets them to like they're celebrating whatever they found and dug up.
Yeah,
it's
they're-
just an introductory to the crew.
They want to show you how badass these guys
And
are.
Yeah.
really shows you that they're experts at underwater welding.
They did a lot of underwater welding.
Yeah,
They have
so-
a sweet automatic welding torch that you don't even have
Yeah.
to do anything. It
Yeah.
just welds it.
Karl Urban apparently has like Thor's hammer of like soldering equipment.
What was his name? Like Mungo or Mando?
Oh, Jerry.
Karl Urban's
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like that. You're close.
Munions.
Munyon.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's such a badass torch. You don't even need like goggles. You can just look right at it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just put it in your eyes. It helps. It gives you powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let me put this in national treasure terms. This is the Arctic expedition where you see Nicolas Cage and you're like, wait a minute, this guy knows a little something about American history, and he's a guy who's going to take chances. And I'm glad I'm making this comparison. And that's what we see here. This rough and tumble crew, they're like, we could take on anything. As Lucor nicely notes, in a tugboat. So they've got tugboat skills and they are hired.
Yeah.
So they're at a bar celebrating their tugboating, and we get a mysterious man who's listed as Ferryman on the IMDb page. Later, I think they keep calling him Jack. There is a reason for this, but the name is kind of unclear. And this group of ragtag piracy water stuff or slinging back
Salvagers.
beers. Maybe what are they salvaging? Like, well, at least in this scene, like I have no idea what the hell is happening.
They dug up something because when this scene started, a whole bunch of money was plopped to the
Yeah.
ground. They
Yeah.
they uncovered something. I think they just
money on the
salvaged what lost ships and lost treasures from
Who knows?
rundown whatever.
I'm gonna say a couple things. I love water. I love everything to do with water. I would listen to water, so I still do sometimes to go to bed. I love being by the ocean, even though I didn't grow up by it. It's very soothing to me. This job seems like it totally sucks. I would want nothing to do with this job. This is like a huge gamble. It's like, hey, 1 in 1,000 times we find a button. And you're going to spend all of your life and all of your money, and you are literally going to break your body down to find several of those buttons.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
It's a top pocket find,
It
buddy.
is, yeah.
I was a little suspicious that maybe when they say they're salvagers, they're a little bit more proactive.
That's true. They bend the rules a little because, as we'll find out later, maritime laws are very loose.
The captain
what you
is
can do out there.
super into maritime.
Yeah, there's a lot of maritime laws
When it
being
works
thrown
for
around
him.
here.
He's
Yeah,
super
which is
into
often.
breaking maritime law.
Yeah, he's not into alerting the Coast Guard.
No, he's about that sea law.
You haven't heard my new album, Sea Life? it's all about these quandaries and these philosophies of just being a man.
It's a gangster rap.
I like track 3, the captain's cabin.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, so that guy's name is the ferryman on IMDb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. That is foreshadowing right there.
It is.
Correct.
I didn't pick up on that.
I don't think it's ever said. I don't really know why it was entered in IMDb. I'm pretty sure Epps keeps calling him Jack.
I heard someone throw the name Ferryman around, but I didn't know what in reference to.
Maybe his last name, like Jack Ferryman.
You know what? That might be right.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a stupid name.
It is.
But he presents himself as a pilot who was just flying around, and he sees this boat, and he's like, hey, I saw this boat. Do you guys want to go get it? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Not really, I guess.
He's got these pictures.
I didn't know if they were shrugging him off because they're like, come on, kid. Like, do you know who we are? We're the ice bandits and or whoever they are. And like, we get hit up every day. These people look like it's Cowboy Bebop. They're working for meals. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, I think they seemed incredulous because like he had pictures of it, and it was a gigantic boat. And I think in their mind, it's like, this boat is way too big to be a thing that we can have. Like, this is someone's boat. But then he's like, no, it's floating. It's floating around.
Nah, it's yachties, man.
Yeah.
And that captain was pretty with maritime like ship legend or ship lore. Yeah. So I think even at the beginning there, he was already putting the pieces together and being like, I bet this is one of like 5 mystery boats that I'm looking for.
Oh yeah, he knew
Pictures
what
were
it
pretty
is.
mysterious looking.
Listen, there's a 1 in 10 chance this is a goddamn ghost boat. But it also might be gold boat. So let's take our chances, y'all.
That's essentially what happened here.
And they did take their chances, and they were foolish. It's a ghost boat. Come on, a ghost ship. They should have just even looked at the title of the film.
Right.
Honestly, they started haggling over who got what treasure right away. Like when he brings up the idea, oh, let's go get this boat.
I think they like
We're gonna
shortchanged them.
need 20%.
Yeah, they shortchanged them on like they gave him a 10% finder's fee.
Yeah, the captain's like, no, 10%. And the guy's like, I'm coming with. No, yes. And that's worked out quickly.
Well, I mean,
I want to show Lamar. I drew my depiction of Ghost Boat.
10% seems like a pretty good deal.
I can show all of you my picture.
You know, put that picture on a website or something, or put it on your the Instagram or something. I don't know.
I think it was 10% if they went and got it, but 20% if he went with them.
No, it was vice versa.
No, it was straight up. He said 20%, and the captain's like, no. I'll give you 10. And they're like, great. He's like, but I'm going with. And he's like, no. And the guy's like, I'm not an idiot. Like, I don't know what you're going to take. I need to be there. And the captain's like, whatever.
I would have not gone. If they were like, we'll give you 10% of what we find, and all you have to do is literally nothing, I'd have been like, yes, that sounds great.
I mean, I feel the same. I would be like, you're going to sign a contract where I get to see like the official catalog of this. Because you're going to have to sell it. You're going to have to like claim that you own this in some capacity.
Right.
You just have to say like, I want it. I want this. Like, I want to see that like manifest.
Right.
When you get back.
So my
I'll be
options
at
are
Denny's.
either spend an unknown amount of time on your shitty tugboat and maybe get nothing, or just stay here.
I would have settled for a tab and a sandwich.
Exactly, yeah.
His presentation was bad.
But I mean, we later realized why he wanted to be there.
Ghost Boat.
Because he's a dick. Ghost boat. Where were they right now?
They were in a bar. So
Yeah, they were.
Well, no, like geographically, where were they?
Near the
I
Bering
think-
Strait.
Oh, they must have been because they got there in like
Real
fucking
quick.
10 minutes. Because the Bering Strait is where the boat is.
to be fair,
International waters.
International
Yeah.
waters, yeah.
they got there in a hard cut, so we don't.
That's
That's
exactly
true. We
know.
had no idea how much time elapsed.
How much of that guy's cigar smoked between when they left the bar to when?
That was the only cigar he had.
They got there in a hard cut. I want to say is like the opening of someone's chapters or of like a biography. Yeah, well, they quickly get there. It's kind of weird. So we get this guy Santos who's steering the ship and is in the engineer room, and things are flickering, and he's like, "Wait, is that some ghost ship or a ship or whatever?"
Or is it just nothing?
Oh yeah, is there nothing? So he gets the captain, and this is like a really weird scene for me. So Gabriel Byrne, the captain, is like, "Okay, there's nothing there." He's like, "I'm telling you, something's there." The captain's like, "Well, I don't believe you," and I'm like, "That like the dynamic of these two is really weird." I'm like, I thought this was like a crew that has worked like tightly together for like 20 years. Like it doesn't seem these guys like playing pranks.
Right.
But the captain's like kind of agitated. Like I don't see it. He's like, well, look again. The captain's like, oh, it's there.
You're like on radar. He didn't see it.
Yeah.
So, but then they just run right into the fucking side of this boat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And then,
Right
Yeah.
there, bam.
I don't
comes out of nowhere.
yeah, I don't know if it was Gabe or someone else, but he says, An ocean liner? Where did that come from? They were specifically looking for an ocean liner. That is 100% of the reason why they were there.
It took them a while to pick up and figure out what was going on.
And they hit it hard.
They
too.
did hit it hard.
It was surprising to me that nothing bad happened.
Well, they had that tire.
They had the tires.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can ram a ship at full speed if you have tires strapped to your hull.
Yeah.
Is that like a side slogan of Goodyear?
Yeah.
When
If it's not on your car, you can use our product for many services.
That's pretty good.
One thing that did tip me off to how this was going to be a mystery was the captain was now wearing an ascot. And I thought to myself, this is getting Scooby-Doo vibes.
Yeah, no.
Lucor said from the beginning that this is the worst captain he's ever seen. And he said this repeatedly throughout the film. And I don't think any of us could really disagree.
Forgot to mention when they were in the bar, he was trying to channel his inner Scarface vibes.
Yeah, with this.
He had a Scarface typical shirt that was unbuttoned.
Oh, yeah.
He
It's
looked exactly like him.
His lapels were as wide as that fucking cruise ship.
It was ridiculous.
Pastel robin egg blue shirt with a suit jacket or a sport coat over it or something.
Well, they get into the ship pretty much immediately. It doesn't seem to be a big hassle. As noted, they dock to the ship, they get on the ship. And I don't know what the etiquette for safety is in a situation like this, but I sure as shit wouldn't get on a ship from 1962 without, I don't know, maybe like an oxygen mask, wear some gloves. You are breathing in, I noted like a rust, dust, mold, body rot, etc. Oh my God. And half these people aren't even wearing gloves.
They stepped off with nothing.
You're gonna get a little asbestos on you.
Yeah, something's gonna go wrong.
That's the treasure.
Yeah.
Even before they made it on the boat, I have to say, I was shocked at the captain's boat lore. He sees the boat name and he just goes into the biography. Oh, this boat disappeared.
Yeah, well, he knows all about it. And later he's telling them about the fucking Mary Celeste.
But yeah, as they're walking through this boat with no protective gear, they look like a tour group going through the gift shop in a museum. They're all kind of walking together, chatting, not looking at anything.
Or they wandered away from the tour at the Cave of the Winds.
This was kind of weird because I noted that maybe they should have took Jack or this guy who approached them about this boat, but he is on their boat. He is there with a couple of the crew members, and they're like, "You're gonna sit." Greer is one of them, Santos, and this guy Ferryman or Jack. I think it's the three of them. The reason I say that is then Gabriel Byrne goes on this weird explanation of how boats like this rot out and you need to be careful of where you're stepping because it could be like quicksand. But I'm like, why would you tell that to the person you've been working with for the last 25 years? I think they know.
Yeah.
But it would make way more sense if they were telling it to the guy who's never been on the boat. But soon all these things happen.
Well, yeah, foreshadowing because fucking Karl Urban falls through the floor.
There's a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And remarkable that just that little piece of floor shattered.
Oh.
Floor shadowing.
Boo.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kind of finding smaller pieces of evidence that there were other salvagers here. So, it's not entirely untouched.
Right, yeah, they're seeing traces, and this is kind of where the spooky shit starts. Because when Karl Urban falls through the floor, when they're pulling him up, Julianna Margulies sees a little girl, and she freaks out. And there's a toy in the corner that they don't see it, but you, the viewer, see the toy. It's like a little letter block game, and it says "Welcome aboard." It moves as you're watching it.
Yeah, it started with "I'm so bored."
Oh yeah, she was really bored.
Switches over to
"Welcome aboard." Yeah.
Classy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a couple of the crew is in a room. One of them, I think his name is Dodge. He's like, "Hey, look at this," and the other crew member's like, "What's the big deal? It's a watch." It's
These guys are fucking stupid.
yeah. I'm like, "Oh my God, it's so obvious." The guy's like, "Dude, it's a digital watch." He's like, "Oh, maybe other people were here."
We must not be the first ones who got on this boat.
Right, and he's pretty nonplussed about it. He's like, yeah, so there were other people here. Who fucking cares? Let's do this.
Yeah,
that would have been very alarming for me.
Yeah.
or maybe not alarming. I think my first thought would be, I was disappointed. Like, oh crap, this place was looted.
Yeah.
Or they might still be here.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, the watch still had batteries. It's still telling time.
It was a Casio, so that, it's a long
Lasts
life.
forever.
Yeah. So one key point in this movie happens here, and I thought they really don't care about the story too much, but Gabriel Byrne actually says something. I'm like, this actually might be something people want to think about. And he's like, how did this boat come to be? And people are like, oh my God, like people died. And he's like, no. They were going still in one direction, and they were going past like these other areas. They got into the Mediterranean Sea. They like somehow missed all these rocks, these islands, these people. Like, that's super weird. And they were going in this direction. Why is it back here? Like, how could it go all these areas? No one's seen it, and now it's back here. That's super weird. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, I am concerned about that. Like, that's super, super weird. There's like a 1 in a cajillion chance that something like this could happen.
Well, the boat that he was talking about going into the Mediterranean is when he was talking about the Mary Celeste, which is another ghost ship. He's just demonstrating how dope he is at ghost ship stuff.
I wish I knew enough about ghost ships.
Yeah.
And then the ferryman leans in and he's like, that story smells like bullshit.
Yeah.
What a fella. Oh, Rami, I note you, not the movie, that Rami was very observant, and immediately, now we're right at a flashback of Epps remembering seeing the girl, which happened literally 5 minutes ago.
I could not believe that they were flashing. Like, we just saw this.
Paul, you had a great line here. When you're you get to season 2 of a TV show and it's showing you flashbacks already. That's what this scene was like. And I was like, yeah, Paul, that's right. That's exactly what this scene was.
Yeah, that was awful. A big fan of Family Ties. Family Ties, I think La-Mar and I, when we watched it once all together, there's like 4 clip shows. It's like relentless. You're like, oh my God, like last season had a clip show. Now this season has a clip show.
It's 4 clip shows for a show that has 5 seasons. Just do the math there. It tells you everything you need to know.
You're getting clip shows of the clip shows. Remember that one time we went on that wedding safari trip and had a clip show about it?
Like 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, so we're getting that. And then, so Epps is kind of freaking out about this, and she's telling the big weirdo ferryman, like, hey, this is what's happening. And then it's the next morning. They're just spending the day on the ship. Everything's cool.
Yeah, they go for a dive, and they realize that the boat's kind of sinking.
And their boat is in a little bit of disrepair. They need to work on some of their engines. So they're like, yeah, we'll chill out.
What happened? I didn't...
They had 2 engines. One just straight up shut down, and another engine needed work.
Okay.
I don't.
I didn't.
Very vague.
They did T-bone a cruise ship.
That's true. Maybe
the tires weren't as much as they thought.
That's true.
They should have used 2 tires.
Smart.
That's the Goodyear motto.
Yeah.
Buy 2 for you. Yeah. So it's the morning. Doing some deep diving.
Yeah, they realize that the boat's all fucked up. They're like, oh yeah, there's there's a time frame.
It's very
sinking.
convenient. We have 3 days to fix it. Very convenient.
Yeah.
Not only do they need to fix the sinking portion, it's also being carried by the current into the rocks.
Yeah.
So it's gonna sink
Alaska
and
or
basically
something?
just get like gutted against the rocks, and that's it. Like in 3 days, this boat will be in smithereens.
Yeah, I guess like the rudder's kind of frozen in place, and I think it's just like going around in circles, and the reason it's sinking is because it like grazed these rocks or something.
That makes sense.
And
I
then
didn't pick it up.
And then the next time around, it'll just straight up crash into it and sink.
So they've got 3 days to fix the hull,
Yeah, patch it up,
point the boat away from the rocks in the island.
exactly,
And during that time, they'll fix up their engine and
then they're in Mummy
loot
Town.
whatever's on this boat and take off. So in the meantime, Epps is just kind of walking around getting the lay of the boat land. And I mean, the boat in a weird way is like super gorgeous. I like this idea. It's like a 1962 luxury boat. You're seeing like the remnants of it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So she's walking around. She sees a drained pool and goes in, and there are just bullet holes everywhere. And she immediately sees this and is like, well, that's not super awesome. So I'm going to get out. And then tries to climb out of the pool with the ladder. I don't know why you would do this. Just go out the way you came in. And the ladder, when she gets to the top, sees the girl and falls right back off.
Like 3 feet down.
Oh, many.
She like lands right on her back though.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Flopped it.
oh, and there's like bullet shell casings all over the bottom of the pool too. Like I have no idea. Like someone just shot up a pool for no reason.
Yeah, I don't even remember what happens in between. She eventually comes to, leaves, but as she leaves, we, the audience, see that the bullet holes are now oozing out with blood, and the pool quickly fills. Very kind of a Shining-esque moment.
This was billed as Shining on a boat.
What
Are you
happened-
serious?
Yeah.
What happened in between was that weird scene where they established that only the captain
Oh, yeah.
to rob the captain's
I have
cabin.
that here too.
Yeah.
Apparently, someone brought up a weird maritime law that only a captain can enter the captain's quarters.
Well, I don't think he
that
brought
right?
it up. I think that was our joke about what was happening.
I
But the
could- I
other
wrote it
dude was
down
trying
like
to get in
someone-
there, and the captain wouldn't let him
That's
in.
true. I could have sworn someone said it or mentioned it.
No words had to pass. The
captain
they
just
walked
blocked
along. The captain looked at the person. The person looked at the captain, looked at the sign that said "Captain's Quarters," shrugged and walked away.
Guess I can't go in there.
He may even have shown like a captain's hand, like
Yeah.
and the guy, and Lucor's right. The guy's like, "Argh."
The shoe fly, don't come in here.
There was booze in there, which is, I think, why both of them wanted to.
They could smell that
they could
smell it.
sweet ancient whiskey.
Yeah.
Looked like a shot had been freshly poured.
Yeah, and he was ready for it. But what did he see? He saw the ghost captain in the mirror or something.
And that was a deal breaker.
Yeah, no, he didn't like that. Oh, and there was a bloody straight razor in the sink, which kind of unsettled him.
That wasn't a deal breaker.
No, he was okay with that. He was still going to go have a drink, but
Yeah, I also noted that I think what he was drinking was uncorked. Lucor made a good point when I said that when we were watching it, that he's like, oh, it would have been evaporated. So even worse,
Yeah.
what the hell is in this bottle now?
Right.
It would just be like rust water drippings and mold
Yeah.
and awfulness.
well, that's super bad for you because like open alcohol, the alcohol evaporates quicker than the rest of it. So when the alcohol's going, you just have like poison water. Yeah, you're really not supposed to drink that.
God, I can't even imagine.
I'm gonna drink some right now that has real alcohol. In it.
I was thinking about that when it was a callback to when they found the watch, and they're like, oh, maybe there were some people here before. I was thinking maybe like the scotch wasn't that old. I was thinking the people who were there before just had some.
Maybe.
So I was rooting for him to drink
Yeah.
it because it
I
wasn't going to be
really
that
wanted
old.
him. Yeah, I wanted to drink.
And it looked like, I mean, you can't have that out there 40 years and have it be that clear. I left scotch overnight in my kitchen, had it darkened. I mean,
The
come
other
on.
tip off is that the bottle and the glass are completely clean.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dust
There's
free.
no
You mentioned
dust
that. Yeah.
on any of it.
Not in the captain's quarters.
Yeah.
That's
There's
true.
just on other stuff in there, just not on the booze.
Rude. Well, a lot of weird stuff is happening. So Dodge and Karl Urban are picking up weird things on the radio. They're hearing this singer. Clearly, we've heard her earlier in the film. We hear this voice flicker in and out. And Epps and Ferryman make their way into a laundry room where then the door is locked behind them.
The old corpse hatch.
And they open a hatch to get out, and it is truly filled with many corpses.
It was the most ridiculous. She goes to open it and she's like, "Okay, stand here. I might need your help in case there's water in this vent. We need to check and see if it's
And
open
then
so we
close
can
it
get
real
across."
quick.
If water comes out, we got to close it real quick. She gets it like a halfway open, and water and corpses just burst.
So many corpses.
A lot of corpses.
Dozens and dozens. They did not get it closed real quick.
No, but they went in there anyway, and they found some boxes of gold and rats.
Ah, the gold.
And the rats were more upsetting to her than the corpses were, seemingly. Because
Yeah.
she really doesn't like rats.
So I hadn't caught that. So the room they go into that has the rats in the car is where all the corpse water was.
No. There was a scene in between.
I thought that was the same room.
No, wait. One. So first we get Greer. Greer walks into a room, and it is where the music would be happening on the ship. And he looks down, and there's an ashtray, and there is a lit cigarette smoke is coming out, and he goes, "What?" I would immediately pull out a gun. I would fashion a weapon. I would get off the boat immediately. I would be done right then and there, like just done. Like I would be off the boat. There's no looking. There's no looting. It would be me on the radio. I'm leaving the boat. I'm leaving the boat until I was off the boat, and then I'd be like, I'm off the boat.
I'm never coming.
You're on your own.
But,
We also get before they get into that mail room, Ferryman makes another illusion because he runs into a side room, and Epps is like, whoa, no, and sees like some dope Jaguar. Do you remember what the model or anything is, Mike?
It was like an X-150 or something.
I should have wrote it down, but
Yeah, some like very valued car.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've been dreaming of that car ever since I was a kid. And I don't think that would be the car most people would be dreaming about in a modern time as a kid. Like as an adult, sure, or a collector, but like anyone in this room right now would be like, oh, like I still don't really care about cars. But like when I was a kid, I'd probably be like, a Ferrari looks cool. Like, I don't know, like what was everyone's like car
That's true.
choice?
I don't know. Maybe I seen that. Well, I don't want to throw it away, but you see a image of the car later on.
Yep.
Yeah, in its original state, and it looks pretty nice. I could see him going.
I mean, but
What
just
else
like no
was
one,
it
no
for?
one
Yeah.
now in this room would be like, as a kid, you saw that
Yeah.
car. Like,
Yeah,
like
that's an old
every-
man car.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Unless
like
you're really deep
A
into
pre 1962 Jaguar.
right, like as a kid, for real, I was more like the Batmobile is pretty cool.
Yeah,
but like,
we like
but
a cooler, sleeker car.
I always liked the Firebird. I always
Like
thought,
Smokey and the Bandit.
yeah, like, but I was like no joke, I was like 5 years old. Like the black with the gold like
Oh,
Yeah, that
Firebird.
car's dope as fuck.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
like that's super. Like I was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the coolest car. I know nothing
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it
that's
now
true.
or then, but when I was about 5, I was like, that's the coolest
Oh,
car.
yeah.
So I think my parents would be weird if I threw out, as Lucor noted, this like pre 1962 Jaguar. People were like, what?
That's true.
Right.
Where have you seen this?
there was one thing that we should mention about that scene with Greer in where there was music before. Not only does he find the smoking cigarette, like still smoking cigarette, it has lipstick on it, and he looks over at the picture of the singer, and I swear she's looking right at him out of the picture, and he's like, "Nice tits."
Yep. That's correct.
Yes, and a little bit of backstory is he is engaged and is really missing his fiance, and he's like, I told her I'd be true, but now he's getting ghost seduced apparently.
But onto the mailroom.
But let's delve this back.
Yeah.
Now I'm questioning the target audience of this film, because to be like ghost seduced in this situation, like if we were watching this movie being 18 years old, I think we'd be like, yeah, cool, ghost seduced. But being like how old we are now, and if I were on a boat, which is closer to this guy's age, and being on a boat now, like I am wet and cold. There is like my real boat is in like shambles. I have some worries. Like there's some weird stuff going on. Like you think you could seduce me? Like I will burn this place to the goddamn ground. Like are you kidding me? Like that's like the least thing on my mind.
Just the logical situation of we're on a salvage boat. We're here to get some gold and get the hell out of here. I'm not gonna get my I'm not gonna get my jollies
my
off on
ghost
it.
jam.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you say that, but
I got rust water in my boot, friend. Like this is not the time.
that and I shouldn't believe in ghosts and fuck it. I mean, it sounds really simple to just walk away from this scenario.
My thought process while being on this boat the whole time would be like, oh my God, am I vaccinated for all of the potential
Oh, yeah.
problems?
when did I get a tetanus shot?
Right,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Like, I'm going to have to talk to my pharmacist. This is not okay. So, listen, Jerry, I don't have any money, but I do have this bar of gold. Vaccinations.
I'll take anything you got.
And yes, they eventually go to a mail room and find many bars of gold.
And rats.
And
A
rats.
ton of rats and a ton of gold.
And somehow there's maybe like 7 rats in this crate full of gold. But somehow, as they look across the room, the rats are jostling the crate and several bags of miscellaneous piled on top of the crates.
There are a lot of them.
It's bouncing around like there's a person
It's
in
true.
there. And then they like pull everything off, and the rats are just a couple of rats.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no food source in there, and it didn't look like they're hiding anything. There's just a bunch of rats in
Were
the
they
box.
ghost rats?
They were
Probably.
gold
Sallow
ghost rats.
Yeah.
That's how they get you. Yeah, so all of a sudden the captain, too, is doing some weird gold math. I like this, too. So like, how much do you think's here? He's like, you never could tell, but like probably 200 to 300 million in gold.
Yeah, he's just throwing those numbers out.
Just quickly gauged it, and the gold bars were really light.
Yeah,
Like, they picked up one like a
They're
feather.
waving them around. Yeah.
Like this, yeah.
Yeah, they're all excited, and I looked right into Mike's eyes as Karl Urban said these words. He's elated because of the gold and all of these things, and they're all kind of joking around. And Karl Urban says in the worst acting, he's like, "Brother, whatever you're on, give me some." And they just kind of pan to him. Like, I honestly thought, I was like, "Oh my God, dude, that like could have killed your career." But like,
No.
I like Karl Urban, so
J.J. Abrams saw this movie and was like, yeah, that's my fucking bones right there.
That thing that he's ripping on him for, like that scene, is because he's talking about hearing the woman singing to him.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah,
on the
they're
radio.
clowning on what's his name?
The one dude who's willing to
Yeah.
talk about seeing ghosts, they start ripping on
Yeah.
immediately.
Yes, that's right. So Greer is like, "Hey, everyone, so we should maybe get off this boat. Like, I'm getting really weird vibes, and I was in this room, and I could tell you I could hear this woman, and Dodge and Karl Urban could have said the same thing. They're like, we heard that on the radio, or the walkie-talkies, and so Greer's like, I want to leave. Stuff's weird. And Rami, you noted that early on, because good for you, because when other people start saying stuff, no one says anything. They just don't like Greer.
And his take on the ghost was kind of interesting. He was like, this lady was singing, it was weird. I think she was trying to get with me.
He did immediately. He's like, she was trying to pick me up.
I think that's where he lost him. It's like, Greer, get back to work.
I agree with La-Mar. Like, so if this was happening to me, I would have left that part out. I'd have been like, me just noting like some supernatural things. Let's just keep it as is. Like,
Right.
He had him too, and then he just said that as like, I think she wanted me, and they giggle. Like, and I think that's where he lost
she
him.
gave me her phone number.
While they're going through the gold, they're bringing up more maritime law about finders keepers. About hey, this gold is
What was that? The original name of this film, Finders Keepers.
probably, but they found out it was already taken, so they had to change it to ghost ship or
And it-
ghost boat.
And that they only carried the gold one room out before they started celebrating their victory.
Right. Well, it's heavy. They didn't want to go very far.
Wasn't that heavy?
Apparently, yeah.
But they're kind of like, while they're talking about that, they're kind of figuring out that the gold was stolen because the serial numbers were filed off or
Yeah.
something, so it can't be traced.
Yeah, there's no marks on it or whatever.
So this gold wasn't shipped with this boat. This gold was stolen and brought aboard this boat.
Yeah, so part of the mystery that this crew is piecing together is, I think they have some kind of like manifest or some like inventory of like the mail, and they're like, this boat received all of this gold 2 days before no one ever heard from anyone on this boat again. Maybe this is connected. But I would say on the side that I know nothing about this kind of law or what would happen, but if I just found a bunch of gold and no one really knows where it came from and it was all filed down, I'd be like, that seems like a win. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be, yeah.
And the weird thing is, the way that they found out that it came on 2 days before is from pictures.
Oh,
they
that's
just
right.
had weird pictures that had the date for some reason on them of
Right.
people loading these crates of gold.
And
onto
that's
this
what I
boat.
said when we were watching. I was like, why are there pictures of like a dude with like a dolly and a crate?
Well, it was the 60s. They had a different filing system back then. It was all picture based,
Then they
crayon based.
Then they show us pictures later to scare us. Like pictures become like a on and off again theme
right,
or
yeah.
symbol of this.
Bro, they were doing it for the gram.
I know it's.
I don't really understand how this transition happens.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so-
Neither do I.
So okay,
It just-
so just remember, Greer was telling us about being seduced by a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's in charge of like hitting major buttons to start up a ship's engine
Yeah,
from the other ship.
They were fixing their boat.
Yeah, the Arctic Falcon or whatever
They're jumping the boat with the boat.
And
Like-
I'm very unclear on how this happens, but somehow they're
But Katie tries to warn him. Ghost girl's like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
don't
she's like,
turn on the button for the boat.
Ghost Girl is standing on the big boat that they're trying to salvage,
Yeah.
warning the main character chick.
Yeah.
And she gets tackled
by another ghost.
by
man.
another ghost. Like, what? They never explain what. What
Well, no, she doesn't want them to leave, but the ghost is like, "Gotcha, bitch."
It's like a weird
her in
ghost
his heart.
dynamic
Yeah.
happening. You know?
I don't know who the other ghost is.
Well,
Never
we-
explained.
We'll find out.
And that the whole thing is completely unnoteworthy
Right,
to the
yeah.
main character to share with any of her compatriots.
She doesn't say a word.
Yeah,
about
no, this bitch is tight-lipped about this other ghost. But yeah, like they're trying to start the tugboat, and I guess there was like a gas leak.
They really focus on a big, I think, propane.
There was a
tank.
propane leak.
That's-
Yeah.
kind of peculiar.
It's turned somehow or something,
It was
Yeah.
it was turned, I think.
but it's open and venting.
Yeah, I don't
gas,
know.
and so when he hits the big red button, it blows their boat up.
And
Yeah.
now this is kind of a fun story again because they're all stuck on Ghost Boat.
Yeah, now they're trapped on. Well, it kills. It
Santos.
kills one guy.
Santos is
Yeah.
dead.
The guy with the terrible accent is dead.
Yeah.
I question where the captain was at this point in time because we just like don't see him for a little bit, and he's just in captain's quarters.
He's dicking around. He had that captain's whiskey.
Well,
Yeah.
and that was while the crew was making some very important decisions about
Yeah.
what was going to happen next.
That's true. He didn't appear.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he was in the captain's cabin.
He didn't care
Then he was
anymore.
talking about the gold, and then
He dipped.
the next time we see him is in the immediately following scene where he's on the top of the boat next to a barrel fire.
No, he. So when the crew is trying to figure out how to get themselves out of this mess, you don't see him for a while, and then you see him in the captain's chamber, and he drinks most of that bottle of open
I thought that was
liquor.
a little bit
Wait,
later.
whoa, yeah.
Yeah, we're
So
But
the
he doesn't come back before that.
the next scene is, you know, there, as Lucor noted, they're making massive decisions, and so the plan basically comes to this: we're gonna fix this boat well enough to steer it in a direction where most likely people will see us. So we need to make this happen, but we need to survive on here for a couple days. Dodge and Karl Urban go on food duty, and it is a page right out of the Lost Boys. Like it is just the same thing.
It
in
is the Lost Boys. Thank you.
Yeah, so they're eating all this food, they're eating all these beans and these soups and these weird like canned bread. And they're like, "Oh my god, you got to try this." And they're like, "Oh my god, it's going to be gross." And you think it's going to be gross, but they're loving it. And just like the Lost Boys, how do you like your Chinese food? And then he's like, "Oh," and it looks down and they're just eating maggots. It's super gross. And Karl Urban spits out a lot of maggots. But I think it's a very memorable scene, even though they stole it. Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland, you made it a little more evil for me.
Yeah.
It was a nasty scene.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to like the main chick lady, and she's looking or doing
Yeah.
her weird salvage
Wait.
thing.
Yeah, there's like some more ghost shit that happens.
And I have this, and I don't know if this makes sense to if anyone hears this and writes us, and they're like, "That totally makes sense." But at the very beginning of the movie, I noted this only because it caught my eye that Dodge was reading a book, and it was just oddly purple.
oh, like the history of evil or
Yeah, it
whatever
was
the
the
fuck it was called.
conspiracy of evil.
Oh, yeah,
And I was like, I don't know if this is this like what this is based off of? Is that like a tongue in cheek like hidden Easter egg or some stuff?
Well, I'm
or-
glad you made a note about that because
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna write that down. That might be something. I don't know, director throwing in an Easter egg or something.
He's like, that's my next movie.
Yeah.
Ghost Boat 2. Still boating.
Boating around. My notes have the captain hiding out in the cabin.
Well,
Well, there's that scene where the main chick
Yeah, she's in,
brings
like-
the origin story of the ghost girl.
yeah, she goes into the girl's cabin and she
Ooh,
finds the girl
yes.
hanged, not the girl with the big
I
penis.
thought both were
She's
acceptable.
not well hung.
She's not. Yeah, it was not a girl with a giant dick. Yeah, no, she's in the girl's cabin and like the little girl is hanged there, and I took it as like this because the girl clearly survived. Did she hang herself? Because
I took it as
That's what I interpreted
That's what
as
I thought.
well.
I thought like out of loneliness and like I'm abandoned on a boat.
well, her
I,
toy was
trauma.
like I'm bored.
yeah,
So
like I thought she killed herself
Yeah.
as well.
And she watched all of those people die in front of her.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, that's got to be a bummer for a little
That's
kid.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's surprising not to throw yourself into the sea in that case, like to go through the trouble of hanging, but
Yeah. But so yeah, so she finds the girl. She steals her fucking necklace for some reason.
Puts it through her hand too.
Yeah.
Real touching moment, or not so touching.
You got to make sure that she's really a ghost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's
so
like, "You are a ghost."
Yeah, the ghost girl pops out and they're having a conversation. She tries to hand this locket back to her and it goes through her hand and she says, quote, "Oh my God, you really are a fucking ghost." like she's just been battling with this the whole time.
And now we get a hard cut to the captain possessed as hell, out of his mind, doing weird captain stuff. And so shining on the sea, was that on the ocean?
Yeah, well, the two captains, Ghost Captain and Gabe Captain, are like having a conversation, or kind of that.
Yeah.
And Ghost Captain's kind of like telling him what sort of happened, or something. I don't know.
I kind of like the scene, how it's shot, because it's two captains just
Yeah, they're just sitting
drinking
there
over
drinking their ghost whiskey.
Yeah,
drinking
so,
whiskey.
so like the what happened isn't like the little girl story. The what happened is basically a bunch of thugs got on our boat, killed us all. The accident we, the audience members, saw with this wire was actually planned. There were clearly other people in the boat. They were rounded up. They were shot in a pool
Or poisoned.
or poisoned.
I thought that part came later.
Well, yeah, that's when the girl explains it all
Through flashbacks.
through
through
touch.
flashbacks.
yeah.
Yeah, the captain's just
captain-
kind of explaining, I think, what he knew up until the point that he died.
Yeah. And the other captain pieced it together
Yeah.
through the pictures he was showing them.
Yeah. It was like a picture show.
Yeah.
So the captain got the picture show, but we got the full version through the little girl's rendition,
Right.
which is
Later
added, I don't want to call it techno music, but the soundtrack just upped it up a notch here during this scene.
I wrote, the song is called My Little Box by John Frizzell, or Frizzelli. I don't know how to pronounce it. It was super weird.
It was 2002, just remember that.
It sounded like a 2002 song. It was just so out of place in this movie.
It really was.
What was the other band that was playing throughout?
Mudvayne.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to tell you exactly. Okay,
Falling down.
2002. I need you guys need to banter for a second. I need to look up.
That's it. There was a scene earlier that we totally skipped over when they're showing the crew's all badass, and the helmsman, he's playing a Mudvayne. He's like blasting it.
It was the same Mudvayne song.
It's the same Mudvayne song.
They have the
that's
one
playing-
Mudvayne
yeah.
song that they play over.
They're playing over and over again, and it's just, I don't know.
So interesting.
Not falling. Mudvayne not falling.
There we go.
So
yeah.
same year, I was like, I know what this soundtrack reminds me of, and same year release, it's Resident Evil. So you had like Marilyn Manson, and
Okay.
like zombies would come and it'd be like jigga-digga-din,
Yes.
jigga-digga-din, and then but then it would be like weird like synth everything else, like not a real kick, but it'd be like thump 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 jigga-digga-din, jigga, and that's what this movie turned into all of a sudden. Like, what the hell's happening? I don't know. Like, that was kind of bizarre. It was a very low-key soundtrack or like Italian singing, and then all of a sudden that one Mudvayne song and this, which is like a weird, I don't know, like techno song. What was that?
Yeah, it was
I-
the remix.
Can't really describe it. It just took me out of, well, it didn't really take me out of it. Just this flashback scene went on a while.
Yeah, so
And-
imagine like it's 1960. Imagine watching Titanic and you're doing it to, I don't know, Mudvayne.
And the scene you're talking about is also the death montage where they show all of the backstory.
Yeah.
The weird poisoning. The cooks are putting rat poisoning in people's soup and
That's not healthy.
drinks and
Yeah.
It is not.
then the shooting in the pool of all of the people and
The guy running around with the straight razor.
the guy with the
Yeah.
straight razor and them hanging the little
Yeah,
girl.
yeah, it's the girl kind of telling the story, and it looked really shitty for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah, she's one of the people being held down by one of these captors or whatever. They're taking over the ship.
And this is when La-Mar, you noted that you see the car restored. Like we see the Jaguar as is, and it does look super cool.
There are two notable things that we should mention before that scene, though, and one of them is the scene that you were referencing, where it goes like back in time with the what is it? Greer is in like the dining hall.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the ghost titties?
Yeah, and then he tries to bang the ghost, and he just yeets himself right down an elevator.
Yeah, he's like
Right down an elevator.
the Italian singing ghost is like taking her shit out, and
Well, at first he's being like awarded, and there's like 1,000 people, not really 1,000, like a couple hundred, and he's like, "Hey, I won an
Toasting,
award!"
clapping.
And then she's like she kind of like beckons to him, and he follows, and
right.
then they go in a weird room.
Yeah, well, he's like starts unzipping his pants, and as you mentioned, he was wet and cold. She was just wet, and she's like, "Let's go." And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna put my dick in this right now." But instead he fucks his way right down an elevator.
Yeah, it's like he tries to grab, just touch her from behind.
Right, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get up on you from behind, lady."
It's just ghost, so he falls down this elevator.
It was well, he didn't even like.
It's unclear what he was
keep my
trying to
head,
do.
just-
He flies right down.
Yeah.
And he's it should be noted that he's significantly taller than she is.
Yeah.
So we would presume that he sees the elevator shaft and assumes that she is going to support his weight.
Yeah, but he's just going 100% all in force.
Yeah, well, there was only one shaft he was concerned with,
Nice, very nice, Mike.
and he just, that sometimes that first thrust you got to go in full bore, and
The other notable scene that we should mention is where the captain loses his mind and thinks that the main character is the dead metalhead driver guy and starts trying to kill her.
Oh,
and
so,
then
yeah.
they dome him and put him in that tube.
They put him in a tube,
they put it, yeah.
and that's where the captain will be for the rest of the movie in that tube.
And it's a tube with a rusty hatch. So they push him down this tube, turn this rusty hatch, and it's like, well, that takes care of that.
Yeah, he's done
I
and
should
done.
also say, when I say tube, it's a glass tube, so they can see him.
Right.
in
What
this
was the purpose of this tube?
Very
Pre-ghost?
unclear.
You saw it. It's usually not for captains, but you saw it.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's a specimen chamber.
I see. Also, like I don't think he speaks again for the rest of the movie.
No, this is it, Mike.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
like the captain's farewell.
Well,
Like,
at no point was he like, guys, I thought she was this other guy. Maybe get me out of the tube.
right to the tube with you.
No, he doesn't reason. Nothing happens.
Basically, at the end of the death montage scene, he's dead.
Yeah, he's
drowned
running
in
for
that
yeah.
tube.
And this is where they were like, oh yeah, remember we have photos. So the captain's holding a photo of himself dead. Am I wrong on that?
I thought it was the ferryman.
It was the ferryman,
taking the
yeah.
picture, which I didn't really understand.
so his-
until
Like,
later.
why did he have it?
No
It
one
was an
knows.
old timey picture?
He stole it from it was because we find out that the ferryman was on the boat originally and is a timeless, ageless ghoul person.
But to answer Lucor's question, maybe he's like ghost like royalty now. Like he just hands out those photos like I killed you. Hey, I killed
calling card.
like who am I writing this out to? There you go. I don't know. A side story about signing things. I don't know if I ever said this on a podcast. My brother and I went to go see at a mall Adam West, and he gave us autographs
Awesome.
once, and he signed his name A West. And my brother, I just always remember my brother's like, he can't even stand his first, like pretty directly. And I remember it was around the time Michael Keaton's Batman was out.
Oh my god.
And so in front of me, Adam West was nice enough to give me a second autograph where I drew the Batman symbol on like a notepad, and he autographed it next to it. But the guy in front of me and my brother had a life-size stand-up of like the Michael Keaton Batman, and he's like, "Oh, will you sign this?" And he's like, "No, it's not me." He's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "I guess I'll sign the back of it if you want." And he's like,
What the hell?
and I guess the guy's like, "What did you do when you found out like there was a new Batman?" And he's like, "I cried."
Adam West. Ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on that note, During Ghost Boat, as we talk about the captain, are you still a captain after your ship blows up?
That was actually a question we had. Was he still a captain? He was
That's
prowling
a
around.
really good question.
It was in the captain's chamber.
I liked Lucor's definition because I said, did you get any like grace period? I was like, your boat sank, you no longer have a boat, like you still have 24 hours like to get your house in order. And Lucor, you said something like, the moment you could no longer say I could protect you on my boat, you are no longer a captain.
It makes sense, right?
It does make sense.
And side story, I don't think that captain was trying to protect anyone. So. Even looser with the definition of captain for that guy.
He didn't even have a hat.
No, he didn't.
No, he had a Scarface shirt. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And an ascot.
And an ascot.
But yeah, so at the end of like the little girl vision story, we find out that the guy that told them about the boat originally was the mastermind of the boat massacre in the 1960s.
My notes literally go from that nerd is losing it, and then he's got a gun come out.
Yeah.
And he's a ghost! Exclamation point.
Yeah, he's
Shyamalan.
honestly, I was pretty much okay with this movie up until this point. But that doesn't matter. What the fuck is happening now?
Just him as a villain. Just everything goes off the rails.
Yeah,
They pretty much just throw everything out the water.
yeah,
It's
he
just like
he starts killing everyone.
Yeah, so basically what happens is they are able to repair the boat. They are draining water out of it, and one of the tubes gets stuck. Karl Urban goes to check it out. He's just gutted.
Yeah, he's eaten by some
yeah.
gears.
Yeah, he got geared. And then Dodge is hanging out, and he can't get in touch with him. And Epps starts figuring a lot of things out, and she's very aware that this dude is a ghost, Ferryman. So Ferryman and Dodge are in a room, and she demands that they're both going to stay there together. And started talking to Dodge about this, is kind of cut off, and he trusts her, so he's like, I'm going to follow her. Like, this guy's super weird. She's like, do not let him leave. And then we get that, and she is basically rigging some bombs in another room. We find
Yeah,
out pretty soon.
she's gonna sink this motherfucker.
Yeah, she doesn't say it to anyone. We have to put that together, but she's done with it.
We should also mention that Dodge shoots him with a shotgun. He shoots the ferryman with a
Well,
shotgun.
yeah, so
There's an altercation.
Yeah, so she leaves, and immediately Ferryman's like, oh, I want to go check on her. Everything's great. This is great. We're all like going to port and blah, blah, blah. And Dodge immediately is like, dude, no, you're a super weirdo. And the guy gets up in his grill and he shoots him with a shotgun.
And he gets really weird up in his grill. Like, I have to say, it was very striking how this villain ferryman never gives us a character.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
he just goes from being mild mannered to like off the rails lunatic.
Yeah, that's true. He does.
Yeah, yeah. It would make more sense if he revealed himself to Epps that way, because clearly she's now alluding that she knows more than what she's saying. But I said when we were watching this, Dodge doesn't know anything about ghosts. Like, there was no, hey, dude, like, heads up, like, supernatural shit's happening. Just nothing. Just, you got to watch this guy. And so it's and Lucor's right. It's kind of weird. He's like, now you'll see my true form. And you're like, and then just that's it. And then Dodge walks, or after Dodge shoots him, Dodge walks into this other room where Epps is like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, super weird. He's like, oh, nothing. Ha ha ha. And then she's like, why aren't you too concerned about Karl Urban? And he's like, I already know what happened. And then transforms into Ferryman. And she knew.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna blow up this boat. Go to hell.
Well, but then he gives a little bit of exposition about who he is and what's going on.
Vague.
He's like,
vague.
like my job is harvesting souls, and I collect them on this boat.
Because I'm damned.
Yeah, and then when like there's enough of them, I send them up, and like if I don't send this boat up, management's going to be upset. And he has like a PowerPoint presentation.
He's got a funny line in there too. He's like, you collect ships, I collect souls.
Yeah, there you go.
And like as a villain, I feel like it should be noted that the way that he goes off the rails and gets all mean is attacking the other gentleman's masculinity. That's a really
That's
peculiar
true.
thing
Yeah,
when you think
it
about this
is.
like overarching character.
It is.
He's a soul collector, but when he gets mad, he's like, "You're not a man."
You're taking orders from a lady.
I don't know if he said that just to manipulate. If he knew that, what was that guy's name? If he knew that he really wanted to like be with this chick, I think he just said that just to entice him to turn on her, or maybe just to manipulate him better.
Yeah, actually, it's a really weird misdirection too, because as Ferryman is disguised as Dodge, he tries to play off too. He's like, "But we need to get off the boat, and I'm gonna get gold, and you're gonna be my baby, and we're gonna live together forever." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not."
It immediately doesn't work. It's like whatever.
Yeah, I like that both of them are like, "What are you talking? I've worked with this person for 20 years." Like,
Coming out. But,
go back to 1962, bro.
The main character lady and the ferrymen are fighting in the water. She's got the bomb thing. He knocks it out of her hand.
Yeah.
But she gets a spear gun
Yeah.
and spear shoots the trigger to the bombs. And,
Bullseyes it.
And he's not happy.
No, he's real pissed about this.
yeah, because he even says, like, "I made you a deal." He does kind of make her a deal. I mean, maybe it was legit. He's like, "You just needed to fix the boat, and if you just get the hell off it, like, you could live, and I'll just bring all these souls there." And she's like, "Nah."
No,
And
no
like,
dice.
I mean, like, I at first was like, "All right." I was like, "Oh, but like, I could save these souls." Like, that wasn't really like noted, but she does.
Yeah.
And happens in
somehow.
the explosion.
Yeah, the boat explodes, it sinks, all the souls escape. It's very pretty.
It's like a Titanic scene where the boat
Yeah.
like tips way up in the air.
Oh,
That's true.
Yeah,
and
big
starts
time.
sinking down.
Somehow
But
she's alive.
She somehow swims out the bottom of the boat and then
she somehow
clears it.
pops
Well, the-
way out of the boat.
The ghost girl kind of shows her how to get out of there.
Oh yeah.
You can see all the ghosts floating up to the surface,
Yeah.
and they look happy. They're free finally. Yay!
The
Free
way
ghosts.
the way I described it is a soul vortex into
Hey.
the sky.
That is very accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that happens, and then you think it's all over, but not really. Epps is taken off by an emergency vehicle, and she seems to be well enough. She's going to survive. But then you look over, and what do we see?
Like some 1960s bellhops loading gold onto a new boat.
I thought it was ghosts loading that same ghost.
But a lot of them were her crew
Wow.
members.
Yeah, they were her crew members, yeah.
And the
damn.
douchebag.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
douchebag
he was the
there.
last. Ferryman was the
ferryman.
last.
And that's like the cutscene.
And she goes,
Yeah.
"No!"
And they were in old timey outfits.
They were I don't understand the outfits.
I don't either.
It's so that they can keep the illusion going. He's got a bit.
But
He
where'd
wants-
the gold come from?
Well, so that's my question. Is this really more about cursed gold? It's just like the gold cursed, so wherever the gold
Yeah,
goes, that's
whoever-
cursed.
So it's like a PSA.
I don't even know if the gold was
Maybe.
real.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's like just cursed gold.
Well, yeah,
It's not real, and it's cursed.
and that's why this movie doesn't
Cursed.
really make any fucking sense. Like I get the idea of this like soul harvester guy trying to like do his thing.
Yeah.
That does not require gold to be involved.
It
Not at all,
lures
no.
victims
The
to
gold-
it because
well-
why would salvagers?
Well, but that's the thing, Lamar. No one knows about it. So that's
Right.
why I'm questioning the gold. Like,
Yeah,
they didn't know about the gold.
the captain. Well, did the captain know about the gold?
I don't think so.
Right. Like you could have taken the gold away from that movie and the movie would have been the same movie.
Correct.
Maybe
The
the
gold
gold
was
is so-
completely inconsequential.
Maybe the gold was so that people would start to fight amongst themselves over the gold.
Could have been fairy gold.
Maybe.
But what I don't quite understand is where was the ferryman taking the souls?
The
To hell?
management.
Somewhere. To
It,
manage.
it seemed like he'd been going for a long time, and he ended up in the Bering Strait, ramming up against a couple of rocks.
Management's
going-
not pleased.
To the great call center in the sky.
Also, it seems like, and he said, like, I've been doing this. I fill up a boat and do it again, and management's going to be displeased. I'm like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Make you fill up another
Yeah.
boat? Like, because that's what we saw. Like, you failed, so you need to do this again. He's
Now
like,
you
"All
got to
right."
get another boat.
Maybe you should figure out a new place to lure humans, rather than
Yeah.
a ghost boat in the Arctic.
Dave and Buster's.
Ghost car. Ghostbusters.
Well, I have a question for all of you. It's
Okay.
how did you think the effects or like the direction was? Because I thought it was interesting. The director Steve Beck did the effects for The Abyss and The Hunt for Red October.
And Last Crusade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was like the creative director for Industrial Light and Magic for a while.
Oh.
And he also directed 13 Ghosts, which is a movie that I kind of actually like.
We could do 13 Ghosts for
I
this.
did notice
Okay.
the lighting was like I could never find fault with it. Like the way that like faces would be lit, and you'd be like, "Is that some beautification?" And you're like, "No, that seems like that could fit in with like the lighting that is in this scene, but it's remarkably well composed."
Sure. I don't know. I kind of like this movie. I recognize that the plot is stupid, but I kind of like this movie. No, I know I'm going
I'm
to be
so
alone on
close.
this.
I'm so close. But
I get it. This movie is stupid, but like I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I'm
this,
really
This
close,
isn't the
but
first time I've seen it, and I would watch this
I
movie.
wanted to like it. There's some parts I just can't get. It's just I don't.
No, it's
I
fucking
don't
stupid.
absolutely hate this movie like some of the movies that we watched in the past, but this is a no go.
That's totally
This
fair.
isn't a movie I'm gonna pull up and be like. I'm nostalgic for some old shitty movies in the 2000s. I can watch Volcano and Armageddon. I can't go back to Ghost Ship.
I actually think that I have seen this before. As it was starting,
Yeah.
I kind of thought I had. Like, when you mentioned the name of the movie, it sounded very familiar. And then the intro, I'm pretty sure I've seen this movie before, but it's been a long time.
Interesting.
I didn't hate it. Like, I'm not mad at it. I actually thought that the special effects were pretty good. Like, the way that they used the ghost girl was both startling and I thought it was well done. The way that they would just have this person just appear.
Yeah.
The way that they did it was well done. The plot doesn't necessarily do it for me, but
I'm glad you
overall.
mentioned the special effects, Paul. Going back to what you said about the effects, you mentioned The Abyss and The Hunt for Red October.
Yeah. And Mike noted
for-
Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade.
Big water scenes and scenes that are shot underwater through a boat. You can kind of tell, probably the same cameraman, just the way scenes are shot through a camera. They're not too overly shaky like you see through crappy movies, and they're not still, and you see like rushing water running through like you see through other crappy movies. It's kind of like perfectly done. You can kind of see the influence there with this. It helped the movie, but plot wise,
like a good example of that is that scene where they open up the corpse tank.
yeah,
vent thing.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
It looked like water
Yeah.
and corpses were just flying at you.
I'll give the movie all that, but like I said, plot wise, the story wise, and the exposition at the end where the villain's just rushing. Yeah, I'm doing this because of this and this and this.
It's a little wackadoo. And as we were kind of talking about this after the movie was over, there was a point where they explained everything kind of through that ghost girl.
Yeah.
And that was like all of the plot, like right there. And
I would rather it be sprinkled in.
Yeah.
A lot of the exposition is done through just
Ghost shit.
bam, tell you right
Yeah.
now in like the next 2 minutes, and then a lot of the movies just talking and dicking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to something that I think Paul said as this was all being kind of introduced, which is the main character, I guess. The overall feel of the movie made it really hard to even be sure that you knew who the main character was.
yeah.
That's fair.
It was
that
presented
is very
very
fair.
passively.
Yeah, it was definitely shifting. Like like Epps goes start to finish, but like I don't know, Epps's screen time is almost equal to a couple other people throughout. So like maybe she has like 5 more minutes in all of this, but like other people have significant things. Yeah, I'm kind of with La-Mar on this. This movie's really close for me. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think just really what takes away from me is they needed to tighten up this story. They needed to make the crew people that recognize that they've been working together for all of these missions and for years. and that they're not just a bunch of dum-dums. Like, you might have like the one like wild guy, but still there is going to be, of 20 years, the crew's going to be like, yeah, he might be wild, but he's going to protect me or whatever it is. But they're still kind of at odds with each other even as they get to this place. Like, you're crazy, turn down your music, I don't know what you're talking about, you saw a ghost, you're a weirdo, I don't trust any of you. I'm like, damn, this whole crew unraveled in like a minute. But as far as how it looks, I think it looks great. The biggest selling point for me is the story. You just got on a ghost ship. Like, let's talk about this. But I like it that you're trying to loot the ghost ship. Like, you're not here for like archaeological purposes. You're not here for historic recognition. You're gonna loot the shit out of this ship. And whoops, you just found some ghosts. I'm down with it. It's very From Dusk Till Dawn for me, Lamar. not that of it in your face, but
I won't comment on that last comment, but I kind of agree with you on your assessment of that, especially the pacing of the movie. I did like the pacing. They're not bullshitting around too much. They get to some of the points right away, and this movie, I believe, is really close to maybe 90 minutes. It's not really long.
We watched another movie not too long ago, the three of us, and it was, I think maybe Rami watched it. Maybe it was longer ago, though, where it was like a bunch of World War I soldiers were sent to go, like, check out this area of Germany, and it's like, whoops, you just, like, stumbled upon a witch coven.
We just
Overlord,
talked
you guys-
about it. Yeah, we've mentioned it.
That was a different one.
Yeah, Overlord
Yeah.
is different.
Yeah,
I
it
know
is.
what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, the other one is like a very serious, like, I don't know why I'm here. And it's like, oh my God, there's witches. And they are not messing around. Like, they
yeah.
are immediately, like, doing witchcraft in these people's minds.
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome. I would do that movie. Mike's looking up.
I'm
that
gonna
movie.
look up what the
Think
movie
about
is.
that. That was, yeah.
Well, as Mike looks up that movie, what's everyone's final assessment? Lucor, you're our newest guest. Are you rating this as people should maybe check it out? Or is there a specific group of people that should check this out? Or should everyone just be staying away from it?
I think this is an excellent movie to put on when you're doing something that's going to occupy maybe half your attention.
Yeah.
It, as has been mentioned, the story is good, but if you miss moments, you won't necessarily lose track of what's going on because, the story's good, but maybe a little bit of the transitions can be rocky. So if you're moving in and out, you won't add to that. I think for me, the only detraction is I'd love to get to know the villain and the main character a little bit more, see a little bit more of their motivations, their role in the story. But by and large, if you're just looking for a fun, scary-ish movie,
Yes.
pop it on.
Rami.
I mean, this was the second time I've seen this, I'm pretty sure. And, I mean, I enjoyed it. Like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. I'd watch. I don't know that I would say that I would watch it again, but I probably would watch it again.
If it was on at like midnight and you were up, yeah, you pop it on.
It's fun enough. I'm not mad at this movie.
You're like, why do I need to watch this movie? I'm going to go listen to the recording of Rabbit Troop Sucks talking about it.
Yeah.
You live through it. You're part of Ghost Ship.
There you go.
Mike, same?
Yeah, I mean, so in today's segment of Mike fixes the plot, like I mentioned that I did like this movie. I think the villain, like the boatman, whatever his fucking name is, Jack, like he didn't need to be the one that told them about it. If he had just been a guy, if they had found out about the boat from someone else and got there, and this guy was like, "Fucking finally, I can finish this shit because there's more souls to harvest," and then they had to kind of like battle him to get the treasure off. That would have been better for me. Like and also there didn't really need to be gold. That wasn't consequential to the plot at all. And I also wish they didn't dump all the explanation in one scene. Like I would have liked to have learned what happened incrementally. But aside from those things, like I thought this movie was fun. Like there were some decent little jump scares, and I don't know why I like this movie, but I do.
I go back to, and Mike, I question the same. Like, why do I like this movie? Like, what are the redeeming qualities? For me, it's totally the story. Like, I like the idea of like people like salvaging things and like what are they gonna run into, and again, I just wish they tighten up the story of the crew and stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, this is totally in my wheelhouse. Like people looking for like cool gold things, and like it's like at the sea, and like who knows what's gonna happen, and oh man, now there's a supernatural element. Like check for me.
Yeah, like if they had just changed it so that it was kind of a showdown between the salvagers and the ghosts to like who can get out in time,
Yeah,
that'd have been better. And also, I mean, to your earlier point, like these people have been working together for years. There was no rapport between any of them. Like that could have been tidied up a little bit, but yeah,
that's what happens when you have a dejected captain.
yeah.
Like day one, I'm not part of
That's
this.
true.
He was not into this.
Well, he wore that cravat, and that just kind of the rest of the crew didn't respect him after that.
Oh, before we go to La-Mar, did you find out that witch movie?
No, okay, so there's apparently a movie called War Witch, and if you don't know the name of a movie that is about a world war with witches, it is impossible to find out.
Oh man,
Because all you see is War Witch stuff. I'll keep working on it,
the old War Witch.
but that looks like a real movie, and I don't want to talk about it.
La-Mar.
I feel like with this movie, I didn't enjoy it as much as you other guys did. It's kind of a miss for me. I don't have much to say to it.
Wow.
It's forgettable for me. I saw it. I had a little interest in it for the same reason you guys did. I was interested, but I thought the plot didn't. The way they went from scene to scene to get there, just the whole adventure was just, I don't know. And then it ended, and I'll probably forget about this movie.
Yeah,
And I don't know if down the road, if I'm sitting with someone, they're like, "Hey, you were on that Rabbit Troop Sucks podcast, and you want us to go see Ghost Ship? I mean, you reviewed it." I'm like, "Nah, man."
What if it's Karl? What if it's Karl Urban asking you?
What am I gonna say to old Butcher? I'm gonna have to say no.
Don't think of him as Butcher. Think of him as Reaper from the Doom movie. That'll make it easier for you.
It will.
Well, I found out the movie we were referencing, Mike, War Hunt.
Yeah,
from
I also just
2022.
I forgot that Mickey Rourke was in that movie.
I think that was a selling point for me.
It was the selling point.
Yeah.
It turned out not to be a selling point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my words. Paul,
Okay.
what's your final word on this?
What I noted before, all those things. I like the story, but yeah, I mean, I think this movie comes close, and I think visually it was spot on. But I enjoyed watching it. I mean, it was fun enough. Definitely leagues above some of the like very low grade things we've seen. So like the direction, the special effects, I think all that did well. But to jump in quickly, if you are listening and you would like us to review a film or you have an idea, write us at Rabbit Troop Sucks podcast at gmail.com or hit us up directly at rabbittroopsucks.com. You could also join us on Facebook or Instagram, and you could see pictures of us, and you could see just glee on all of our faces. Because when you get ghost shipped, you are filled with glee.
I have to say, some of the pictures that you post up there from the movies are just A+. They're golden.
Yeah, we take little screenshots here and there.
We try to find either the most out of context or the absolute grossest thing we can find.
Yeah, totally. Next week, it looks like we're doing King Solomon's Mines. And if you want to find the origin story of Alan Quartermain, we're going to do it together. I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, and maybe piecemeal together I've seen the whole thing. I don't know if I've seen it all in full. Have you?
I have. I've seen this movie recently.
Oh. Did you like it? Like recently?
I don't want to
within,
talk
like,
about that yet.
Weeks?
Within the past 2 years.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everyone, thanks for joining us. I thought this was super fun. Lucor, now that you have been hoodwinked into a podcast, hopefully you would join us again.
Yeah, I think I would. Podcasts aren't nearly as grim as you might think.
And we have a movie that we plan to do with Lucor in the near future, not next week, but in the near future. That we if you're a listener, we've noted that only he could be here for it if we are going to do that movie.
That's
so.
true.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting movie.
Yes.
Rami, any final words?
Oh, I I actually have to agree with Mike on one thing about where they could have improved this. The way that they had the ferryman bring them to the boat.
Yeah,
really,
that was stupid.
really didn't make much sense. I don't understand how he exists off of the boat.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I don't really understand that part. But otherwise,
The ferryman could do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, I mean,
on the boat, off the boat.
We don't know who his management is.
Yeah.
Just whatever you do.
He's got a day pass.
Don't pay the ferryman.
clearly don't pay the ferryman. But always a pleasure. Good to be
Yeah.
here.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for listening to us. And as always, Rabbit Troop sucks.
It does.
Rabbit Troop sucks.